Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Janet Yung, and in my channel, I share about Feng Shui, Bazi, entrepreneurship, as well as personal growth, especially in the areas of communication, success, and motivation. In today's episode, we are going to carry on and share about Wilson, his journey, especially the second part of the interview, where we are talking about how he basically managed to pivot from his internship experiences of consultancy and product management to tech sales, and even landed a job before he even graduated. Today's episode, he'll also be sharing and giving advice on if you are someone who's actually entering tertiary education and trying to decide what to do. He'll be sharing some tips and advices as well. So without further ado, let's move on to the next segment where he'll share more. You took the Bachelor of Business, right?
Yeah, that's right.
At Singapore Management University.
Yeah.
Now, I remember your answer earlier on that you really enjoyed Math Olympiad. So progressively, I think if you were to look at someone who's interested in math, you will probably go towards more the sciences, the engineering. Could you share with us why you chose a business course over an engineering or a math course, which is actually a lot. When we talk about math, it's really about black and white. When you talk about business, everything is in the gray zone, right? What made you make this choice? And it seems like you really enjoyed it, even though you made a significantly different choice.
That's a very good question as well. Actually earlier, one of the analogy, the car one, navigating, I think that is something that is very true. You probably will not be able to find your true calling from the first shot, right? So what I'll say is I'm open to a lot of new things. I like to learn new things. And that's where the navigating happens. Even though at that point of time I like math, it's mainly because I didn't know what else existed out there, right? When I was 14, I probably didn't know what is economics. I probably don't know what a business entails. And as I grow up, I get exposed to more of such things. For example, econs in JC. And when I started working, exposed to the more businessy side, we started reading news and things like that. So as I grow older, right, I realized that math is cool, but you know what? Maybe not a career kind of thing. I like to explore something else, right? And that's where I navigate. I try to pivot here and there, talk to more people, read about the content more, and pivot to where I feel will be the best fit for me in the next few years, right? So yeah, navigating through all of this very unfamiliar grounds to find out what is the best fit for me.
How do you pave your way to ensure that you secure a job even before you actually graduated? Yeah.
Right. So, as we are speaking right now, I think the situation for tech has changed quite a bit from 3 months ago. This week, I think we are starting to see quite a bit of layoff. When I was applying for jobs, let's say earlier this year, tech was still booming. So that's great news. The situation was favorable. But for myself, right, what I did to be prepared for opportunities was to understand the nuances of the industry. At that point, I decided to pivot to tech sales. So basically, I had to understand what are the requirements or what do people in tech sales look out for and what this means. For one, I know that tech sales don't really like fresh grads. By looking at the job posting, they tend to want 2 to 3 years experience. So what I did, right, my cover letter and my resume tried to omit that, right, mainly because I don't want to be perceived as too fresh, right? So that's one. Another one is that I know tech sales requires a lot of cold calling, cold outreach. So basically what I did, I went to LinkedIn. I literally just added random people, at least 10 people, ask them about their role, and eventually ask for referrals. So that's how I managed to get interviews. In fact, more than directly applying. So I'll say, understand the nuances of the industry, know what they want, know what appeals to them. And from there, I think the way forward is a lot clearer, right? The moment you know that they want cold outreach, they want people who dare to take initiative, right? Then the answer of what to do next is very clear.
I believe when we had our discussions, your internship was really more into consulting. How long did you actually prepare yourself in terms of researching on IT tech sales, that it was the in thing and that's the area that you wanted to go?
That's a good question. And I'll say it's an ongoing thing. I actually knew about tech sales, I think year 1, sem 1. It was my very first interview. I think that's it. I was too junior, inexperienced. But fast forward to probably around year 2 middle, after doing several internships at consulting and product management, that's where I realized that in terms of career, right, these may not be the places that I could see myself in for the next 3 years or so. So again, navigating, right? So I'll say that's basically a roadblock. This is not something I want to do in the future. So pivot, navigate through. So I spoke to several of my seniors who were already in tech sales on LinkedIn again through cold messages, ask them about their role, ask them for a chat, find out more about what they do. And from the way they say it, right, I could see myself doing it. So I basically asked them for a referral, and that's how I managed to understand, for one, that I really do enjoy tech sales, not just from a reading job description, but I actually interacted with people with first-hand experience in it. I think the second one would be to get me to the door. That's where the referral happens, and me getting the interview happens, right? So yeah, I think that's basically how I sort of navigate through from consulting, product management, and finally to tech sales.
Great. Now, then the key thing is just now you did mention, I think tech sales was the hot thing, but these couple of months, people are starting to retrench.
I was just thinking that maybe not just tech sales in particular, but I think the tech industry as a whole. Maybe because I saw earlier this week, I think I saw Coinbase, Crypto.com, Shopee also starting to rescind offers or starting their layoffs. So not really tech sales in particular, but tech in general.
Yeah. So if this is the case, right, because you are someone, like you mentioned, you research and you think about it, what are your current preparations for yourself to prepare yourself to ensure that you do well in this particular industry, or are you already thinking about maybe pivoting out?
So I think for now, I seem to have validated my decision that tech sales is indeed for me. I think this is where I'll be staying for minimally from the way I see at least the next 3-5 years onwards. But I think how I prepare myself. So currently I am constantly trying to learn from more senior folks in terms of how to get promoted and things like that. On the other hand, I'm also looking at what is popular in terms of the new technologies. So I mean, this one is a bit tricky because everyone will have different opinions. But I think what's important is that I'm open, right? Learning new things. It can be crypto, it can be data related or fintech or cloud. There are a lot of things out there. Sometimes it takes a bit of judgment call and things like that to actually know what is hot. But I think there'll be a combination of both what is appealing like to the working place and also what is passionate to me, right? So I think this middle ground will be something that is important, right? So as I go further in my career, I think my own passion will start to take a lot more, a much higher precedence in where I want to be in the next few years.
That's good. Now, then what advice would you give to someone who's trying to decide after their O levels or their A levels in terms of what kind of course to take when planning their career? And especially at that age, I think a lot of people have no idea exactly what they should be doing most times. Yeah.
So actually, I mean, from the conversations earlier, I think can tell that I'm not a huge fan of those, you lock in for life kind of degree. So because I'm someone who loves to explore new things, and I'll say 90% of the time, your degree course do not dictate your career choices, excluding some professions like law, medicine, and so on. So I would say have a good initial hypothesis on what you want to do, but don't be afraid to pivot if it seems like something that you don't want, right? Same analogy as the car one, your hypothesis, right? Is your destination in mind. Talk to people, right? LinkedIn is a good start. I know there's this program, Advisory by National Youth Council. So I do a bit of sharing there, I think twice. So I think that's a good resource to find out more about such opinions from some younger folks who are already in the industry, right? Then your accelerating part will be, go and do your internship, CCA, all these to validate your hypothesis. It's not what you want, right? Make your pivot, slowly navigate through it. It's okay if you don't get the correct answer at the first try. More often than not, it's not the first try. So don't be afraid to navigate through that, right? And don't fall for the sunk cost fallacy. Not just because you study 4 years in, for example, engineer, you must be engineer. I don't think it's that way. If you find something that you like more after that, feel free to pivot. And you have 40 years of career, right? Don't be afraid to take 1 year to do a gap year to explore that or anything like that.
Thanks, Wilson, for your time and for taking the effort to share your experiences and your wisdom with parents or people who are entering the workforce. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. I'm really glad to share, and feel free to reach me on your LinkedIn or anything. You need any advice outside of this video as well.
So I will leave Wilson's contact in the video description. If you really need to contact him, you can contact him through LinkedIn. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.